Hey, welcome to Emotional Mastery, where we turn our most stressful human experiences into our greatest potential. Right, today I want to talk to you about love. Right, something that I did this year is to go out to business leaders and had a keynote speech asking them this question: how many people in the room actually believe in love? Not just in relationships, not just in family, not just in spiritual aspirations, but in politics, in business, in economics, in everything that we do. Love is such a abstract concept and it's so subjective, and this is why when we talk about love, most people have nuances and understanding about this concept when it comes to like romantic movies or spiritual journeys and being selfless, either it's conditional love or unconditional love. But today in this episode, I really want to just dive deeper a little bit into love, because what I've experienced for myself, that love is not just all of those things that I just mentioned, but love is also the energy, the creation force of life itself, and it's a prerequisite and a missing link that I've found that has created healing, not just on my mental emotional side of my life, but also my physical, also my relationships, as well as my business, right? So for me to be able to really identify and exemplify what love is, I need to really tell you my story on how I've discovered this to be the missing link. Now, there's a concept called trophic cascading. This is an ecological phenomenon and something that I have discovered for myself by studying nature and how nature works, right? I fundamentally believe when I wasn't able to heal my body and my autoimmune condition when I was growing up with it by conventional means, or going to even seeking naturopath or alternative remedies and holistic therapies and those kind of things, when I could not heal myself, I went out to nature to look for answers, right? And this is something that I've discovered for myself. The first time I heard about this term trophic cascading is when I bumped into this experiment or this documentary about the wolves reintroduced to the land in Yellowstone. And now here's the thing, the Yellowstone, in the space before the wolves were reintroduced, the land was barren, it was damaged, and basically life was not thriving over there. Right? If you're interested to look at this and more about what the wolves are doing, I can definitely show you in the link below, and you can really explore that for yourself and actually watch the video to see how this phenomenon actually transformed valleys and eventually built life. Now, one thing I want to say about this is that in order for this to work, the apex predator of the natural habitat has to come home to their own environment. When the apex predator or the keystone species return home, it creates a cascade of healing spontaneously, not just on one system, but the entire system of the entire environment. And I was so curious about how this has happened. Now, this is not the first time that something has happened in nature. And then there's something where I started becoming more curious and explore about, what is this all about? The first time, actually, I've seen this is actually in the movie called Lion King. Now let me just explain this a little bit. In Lion King, when Mufasa was governing the land as an apex predator, we have seen that the whole life is thriving and the circle of life has run itself, and he's trying to teach Simba his place of one day this land will be yours and you have to govern it in a way of righteousness, and what it means to govern from a leadership that really cares for all life. But then we all know that the story went when Scar took over, killed Mufasa. The entire land starts to die, they overhunt, they pillage all the animals over there, and perhaps some animals have left, which you have seen in the movie. It creates a scarcity, barren land, right? To a point where there's not enough food anymore. And Scar and the hyenas was just like, we need more food, there must be more food. And then basically they wanted to go to search wider areas for more food. But this was also when Simba came back, right, to fight Scar for his rightful place in the throne and overthrew him. And eventually when he overthrew Scar, and Simba is starting to rule again, the entire movie ends where the circle of life thrives, right? That's an example of trophic cascade. Then there's an ecological example with the wolves return that I mentioned just now, that a healing has happened over the span of 7 to 8 years. Not just the diversity of life starts to increase and there's more beings living over there, the circle of life starts to flow again to a point that it changes the shape of the environment, and that's where, to me, that's where the wow factor is, right? The wow factor is that rivers starts to flow, valleys starts to change, and the entire system starts to thrive again at such a short time comparatively. So this leads me to a question of like, wow, right? If nature has such ability to create spontaneous healing in itself, especially when something from an external perspective looks broken or problematic, then I've asked myself, can this healing happen the same way in my body? Because the way I see it, right, if I am a byproduct of nature, then I should have the same abilities as nature. Now, because I am not someone who just believes things for the sake of believing, and watching a video and a documentary about the wolves doing this is cool, and this is where I led myself into a trip to South Africa, right? Where I went to Timbavati, right, which is very close to the Kruger National Park. I was there in this very important biosphere region in the world where the diversity of the entire animal species and plant species is the richest. And there exists this mystical but real being called the white lions. So I was there visiting the White Lion Protection Trust, and I got some tutelage under Linda Tucker, who is basically running the conservation of the white lions and has a mission to, repopulate these beings into their natural environment. There's actually not a lot of real white lions that is roaming free in the wild currently, except the lions that is living in that area protected by Linda, right? The rest of them are either in captive or, at a point where they are very close to extinction. Now, most people think, especially in South Africa when I was there, they think that the lions are a faulty gene expression, and thinking that the lions are albino and wouldn't survive in the wild. But the contrary to that is that it's contrary from the truth, basically, right? Meaning that the white lions are actually apex predators, that they're able to hunt way better than the so-called normal lions, the yellow tawny lions. And there are a couple of reasons to this, right? So I found out that these lions have not just cultural significance but ecological significance, but they also have a spiritual significance to it. If you're interested, you can check out the book Mystery of the White Lions by Linda Tucker, where you'll see all the mythology all the way down to its relationship with Egypt, the pyramids of Giza, and down the Nilotic Meridian line. I know probably when you hear all of this, it's probably, I don't know what's coming out of Chiron's mouth. But if you read the book, you're able to see the difference, the connection between mythology, culture, ecology, and spirituality, and even healing, all in one book. So that's what fascinated me to go to South Africa to meet Linda. And it felt like a calling, like a spiritual calling for me. And when I was there, this is what happened that really struck me, that I know deep down in my bones that trophic cascade can happen at all different levels, all different side of things. Not just my body, not just my, my community, but also in businesses, in politics, in systems. And this concept can be taken to many different areas. And the prerequisite is love. So this is what happened when I was there. When I was there, we had this opportunity to go into the Jeep where, we get to visit the lions, we get to understand and roam the land and really experience the safari lifestyle. But the point of doing that is to create communication and communion with the white lions, because we see them not just as animals, but sacred beings. And even the indigenous people there believe that they are gods, expression of God, the expression of divinity. And there's a saying that these lions are there to protect the entire wildlife that's there. And I find this to be true when I was in the Jeep, where when we were driving through the fence, On one side, where the white lions were roaming, you can see there is wildlife that is thriving in diversity and also in complexity. And on the other side of the fence, you see that it's a barren land. So in the efforts of the White Lion Protection Trust, what they were essentially doing is to buy more land to be able to get a wider range of area where the lions were able to roam freely and to eventually create this natural ecological healing that is there. So when I saw that, I've noticed that I can heal, and this is where my next step came in. If trophic cascade can happen in nature, right, in ecology, therefore it can definitely happen in my body. And this is where it leads me to my next story, how I discovered trophic cascade and spontaneous healing in my body. So basically, after my time with the White Lions, by that time I've really explored healing, spirituality for more than 15 years. I started when I was 16, and when I came home in 2020, it's about 14, 15 years, as we all know, COVID-19 has happened. And lockdown has happened, and to a point, I was blocked away from all the healing modalities that I was relying on. So in that lockdown, I lost access to my retreats, to my spiritual teachers, to some even the supplements that I was relying on to maintain my health and to cope with inflammation, to really work through all of that. And as we all know, 2020 was a very difficult year for everybody across the board, whether it's health or business or personal relationships. And being a very sensitive person myself, I was really experiencing the chaos that's happening in the world. It felt like the end of the world, right? And I was concerned, and I have gone into a very dark space myself. Now, in the lockdown, because I lost access to everything, it felt like a mini death, and my entire body was actually flaring up because of the stress of the environment that was going on. And at that time, this is again a very difficult thing for me to say in camera, but the thing is, I was actually very depressed. I was going through a downward emotional spiral, and to a point that I was contemplating to end my life. My rationale was this: I've tried it all. I've done all the best medication in the world. I've visited all the spiritual teachers and the shamans. Why have I not healed yet? This is the thing where I feel like in my journey, this is a universal human experience. When we tried so many things in the world already, we have this temptation to just give up. But the giving up is not surrendering your life. The giving up is actually exhausting your need to make it right. So when I was there, living in the small environment, confined by the lockdown of COVID-19, I stopped trying. I stopped efforting on needing to get it right when it comes to my healing. And in those days, I spent time meditating, building a relationship with myself, and even called upon for divine intervention, because I really did not know what to do anymore. So one day I called upon divine intervention and saying things like, hey, you know what? I'm at a point that I'm at the end of like what's going on. If you do not do something quick, if you don't give me an answer, if you don't give me a realization, I would probably end my life, because I was not in the right mental state. I was so depressed. And plus, my skin was burning and all the inflammation was happening. If you see the pictures, you will understand I couldn't just bear with the torture of having a skin that hurts so much anymore. But the divine intervention came back really quickly with this realization of like, what you need to do right now is to forgive. The divine, whatever that you have imagined for yourself, but to me, it's the universal energy of love, basically spoke to me and say, you have to forgive yourself. So this is where I've discovered that the missing link. Because I did everything that I know that could possibly work to work my health. What was missing was the love for myself. Basically, what was perpetuating my dis-ease was a psychosomatic relationship of me hating myself, being angry with the state of the world, and holding a lot of bitterness, resentment with God, with the doctors, with my parents for not making it right. So I was basically living life as a victim. And the victim consciousness is such that you either blame yourself or you blame the world, right? There's a sense of righteousness around this victimhood. And it's exactly this relationship in the subconscious mind that is perpetuating the dis-ease. But as we learn more about the subconscious mind, as much as I learn more about the subconscious mind, I realize that the subconscious mind is not there to hurt me or victimize me. It's there to protect me. So this righteousness, this anger, this resentment, this bitterness, this inability to forgive actually got me this far, but it wouldn't get me across the door to heal. So what happened then? Understanding forgiveness, I immediately forgive myself, and I made a vow with myself saying that I told myself, I am gonna renounce, let it go, this need to be right. And the reason why I continue to make myself sick on the subconscious level, even that's absurd, is because I want to prove people wrong. The whole righteousness thing is not about being right, it's really wanting to prove people wrong. My dad, my mom, the doctors, everybody who told me that I could not heal, I wanted to prove them wrong. Now, when I surrender the need to prove people wrong and surrender righteousness, love starts to emerge. On the same day, I spoke to my parents. Hey, I forgive you. They probably did not understand where I was coming from, but I needed to do whatever that thing was to release myself from the issue, from the struggle that I was having. And forgiveness is not what you think it is, right? It's not about forgetting. It's not about not keeping people accountable and not keeping yourself accountable. Forgiveness, the way I defined it, is the opening of the door for all forms of love to enter your life. So forgiveness is actually the prerequisite for love. Because what happens when forgiveness happens, and this experience really showed up, I started crying, my parasympathetic nervous system start to be activated, and I start to soften down. Now, why parasympathetic nervous system is so important is really because of this. It's rest and digest, and that's where the body heals and recovers. Little did I know, I was actually living from a sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze way of being, and my system wasn't able to switch it off. This is why, no matter what I was doing, all the healing modality I was doing, I was not able to heal because I wasn't able to activate my body's natural potential to heal itself. So forgiveness is the prerequisite for love, and love is the prerequisite for healing. And from that onwards, this is where I found Dr. Darren Wiseman, right? I understand the subconscious mind, and very quickly, I experienced trophic cascading through an experience called spontaneous healing within 3 months. Loved helps me to heal. And the funny thing about working with Dr. Darren Wiseman, as you've seen in the last episode, is that we use the secret sauce called infinite love and gratitude. And infinite love and gratitude is basically how we start to activate the body's natural system to heal itself. And this makes me understand that trophic cascade can happen in the body, and the apex predator, the leader in the body, is love. Or you could call it the physical side of things, the heart. Now, there's a lot of science when it comes to the heart. It has its own intelligence. It's not just a physical pump, it's also a spiritual and energetic space. There's something called the heart coherence and an organization called the HeartMath that gives you all the sciences why activating your heart with love is prerequisite and essential to to create healing on the emotional side of things, to shift the subconscious mind, to awaken humans' greatest potential like creativity, intuition, imagination, as well as creating healing on such a profound level. Which leaves me to the next thing that I am now working on, which is, can I bring Trophic Cascade to businesses? Can I create health with businesses? And the health of a business is basically defined as wealth. The next mission for me personally is to work with business leaders to bring love into business, which goes back to my initial question to my keynote speech of like, can we really utilize love in business? So, rather than just spouting philosophical concepts about love, I went down the rabbit hole of researching what are some real tangible action steps that we can actually create or do when it comes to love. What are those leadership training that needs to happen so that we don't just talk about love, we can actually take real action steps around love and create an environment where not just one person thrives, but everybody starts thriving. I have 4 pillars to love, and I'm going to draw out those pillars for you. And I believe that when you can activate these 4 pillars, remember the prerequisite is forgiveness, right? And forgiveness really means, the radical acceptance of where you're at. Again, it's not about forgetting and letting people off the hook. It's really about freeing yourself from the circumstances. And from the subconscious point of view, is building a relationship with your emotions, your vulnerability, and your human experience before you go out there and do something else, right? So the first pillar is clarity. Second pillar is courage. The third pillar is connectedness. And the last pillar is conviction. Rather than a step-by-step process, right? I personally see this as 4 standing legs of a chair that really works with one another rather than something on its own. And love can be defined by you being really clear with who you are, by knowing yourself, right? We all know that Socrates, in a very philosophical way, have mentioned that an unexamined life is not worth living. And knowing yourself, knowing thyself, is really being clear with your values, what you care about, what your purpose is, what your mission is. And something that I do with leaders and business people is something that I call the personal philosophy, where you create a living, breathing document of a guiding principle of how you make those choices. A lot of the people and relational tension and stress, when it comes to making a decision, all of us like to overthink and fear if you're making the right choice or not. The reason why we stuck there is because we have no idea who we are, because all this while in our lives we're being told what to do. Instead, this pillar is really about knowing who you are and cultivating something called your inner wisdom to really decide on the way of life that you choose that you want to live without being afraid that it's quote-unquote wrong. I mean, what is right and what is wrong? And this is where the first pillar, you'll see that when you're able to write out this living, breathing document, there's no room for overthink anymore because you know who you are. Obviously, the next step after that is to not just think about and write things out, but to live it. This is where courage comes in, right? To me, courage is really about authenticity, right? To be able to stand tall and stand strong in who you are, and being able to take those micro risks every single day, things like having that hard conversation, things like making that hard decisions, even when nobody supports you, even when you know you're gonna get rejected, even when you fail to meet the expectations of others. And courage demands you to be vulnerable. So this is where I'll say courage is really about loving yourself. And loving yourself really means honoring your authentic self-expression, right? And to be able to express that regardless whether the world agrees with you or not. Now, there's a saying, I think it was Dr. John DeMartini that he says this, that I rather betray the whole world rather than betraying my own soul. And it's kind of true. And the reason why I had my autoimmune skin condition, because I was betraying myself all this while by hating myself, by internalizing expectation, and I wasn't able to express myself. So I got so angry, and when I got angry, then anger is wrong again, and then I had to shove it down my body, which kind of like expresses autoimmune condition. If you think about the word autoimmune, it's really about self-hate, right? Where immunity, your immune system can't tell yourself from non-self, and started becoming really confusing, so it starts to attack its own self. So courage is really about being who you are, and ultimately it's about the courage of being disliked. Right after that, right, you can't just live this solo life. The third pillar is connectedness, which is really about being yourself in front of others. Be yourself. Everybody else is taken. Right? And being yourself, it really is about forming harmonious, trust-based, safe relationship with healthy attachments that is able to help you achieve your dreams and your purpose. Sometimes we get sick or things are not further along the lines because we keep putting ourselves in an environment that does not support our authentic self-expression, right? And we might be tempted, oh, it's a bad hire, right? Or you might think that it's other people's problem, and we start blaming. But in reality, because you don't know who you are, you don't know how to put yourself in a tribe, in an environment that is going to support you fully. So connectedness is the pillar of being able to see people's differences and to be able to partner yourself up with people that is actually going to deliver the results that you're looking for, right? Over time, in my sickness with my health, I have left a lot of friends and I have left a lot of people, which left me, with a lot of grief. But at the same time, the more I chose to be myself, by starting by knowing and loving myself, the more I find like-minded, like-hearted people in my journey to be able to form the tribe that I was looking for. I mean, this world is huge, right? It has 8 billion people in the world, but for some reason, a lot of us like to get stuck with that few. Right. Last but not least is to lead yourself. And to me, leading yourself with conviction really has a lot to do with managing your time, energy, attention, and money, and ultimately managing your choices. A lot of us are so caught up in managing time, energy, attention, and money, but without realizing it's actually choices that is governing all of that. So leading yourself is having that idea of discipline, which is really about self-devotion, right? To commit yourself to something that that you love, that is purposeful, that is meaningful to you, and you stay focused in that path, because the truth of conviction is that within you, there's a gift for everybody. And the healing process, it's not about adding or removing things about yourself. The healing process is really becoming more of you so that the gift and the human potential inside of you can come through, and conviction is really about dedicating your life to that, right? It's purpose-driven, it's meaning-driven, but to a point that this purpose and meaning is serving some greater cause, not out of savior mentality or not out of trying to fix the world because it's broken, but seriously, it's really more about, just like Simba, taking your place in the rightful environment in the circle of life. And when you share that gift, you're able to transform those around you. So this is my proposal for a lot of business leaders, which I've been working with for the last 4 to 5 years. And when I'm able to help them be aware and be emotionally connected to who they are, the combination of this gives them 3 things emotionally. Emotionally aware, emotionally resilient, and emotionally agile. It means I started developing leaders not out of the survival of the fittest, but I started developing leaders for the survival of the most adaptable, where they can trust their own inner wisdom and intuition and awaken the creativity that inside of them to find their own answers from a place of love, and whatever they choose, they're able to provide the results and the transformation everybody else is experiencing. Now, do I have proof that trophic cascading is happening for these people? Yes, for the few of my clients that I've been working with. But for me to see something so amazing and so powerful, just like what I've seen in nature, in an ecological level, or in my body, I probably need more years to this to really see the results of that. But in a nutshell, if you want to heal, if you want to shift your mental state, and if you want to perform better and achieving 2x to 5x impact and income in your business, if you want a deeper intimacy in your relationship with those around you and your environment, and most important of all, be able to enjoy your life with inner peace and inner freedom that is authentic, then these 4 pillars for you to cultivate every single day, because this is not a perfect, this is a practice and it's a lifestyle. And this lifestyle is what I call a heart-centered living kind of lifestyle, where when you adopt this, spontaneous healing, trophic cascade can happen in your life.